Good evening, greetings from the Institute of Global Professional IGP, from the Institute of Global Professional IGP. Thank you all for joining us and staying with us till the end. Honorable Knowledge Seeker, today I'm your host for the evening. My name is Badhun Das. I'm from Bangladesh, a knowledge seeker. I'm proud to be associated with IGP. IGP is a social and as certified educational and training institute. In last 3 years, we already served 35 million plus knowledge seekers from 100 plus countries. IGP is internationally recognized and globally accredited. We are connected to more than 450 plus profession and 4,500 plus organizations. Institute of Global Professional is an education institute that provides social work globally recognized and reportable. We serve spirit and community research, providing holistic social work and education. We believe that it's not effective to teach one skill just backward in formal education. So we provide effective training and consultation to generate professional generation all over the world. We distribute our services locally, nationally, internationally to students, job seekers, job holder, and also for learners to respective campus location and distance learning platform. We are an occupational and dependable. IGP is one of the famous online institutes from all over the world. Our vision is education is not a business product, it's a part of our human rights. Based on our vision, we are trying to reach all for free webinars, seminar courses. On the other side, also trying to offer more than 100 knowledge platform for gathering general knowledge which can update all day. Kids learning game, website, free course, convert sites, and many more. We help empower you to learn to meet their expectation and dream and become highly skilled people. We implement our training program, webinar, and offline online courses for you, the learner by professional trainers, speakers, and coaches. Our sessions are conducted by globally renowned professionals to develop a view that promote the education of their abilities and personalities. Spreading knowledge is crucial for the Institute of Global Professional. We believe that knowledge is love, light, and vision. So we try to understand the needs of today's generation and we start them with good research and practice method. We must have a genuine concern for the learner to represent. More diversity, growth, and innovation are required to lead the session with professional integrity. IGP member are committed to offering effective basic service and continual improvement so that individual who seek information can improve their skill level and hello. Before you mention your friend in the comment box, the support is very valuable for us. Thank you. Before we move to the next, let me remind you, don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friend in the comment box. The support is very valuable for us. Thank you. We will continue support. We already completed 2058 webinars successfully. Moving to the next video, continuous support. We already completed 2058 webinars successfully. Dear IGP speaker, participant, and well-wisher, at this moment, this is a very important message for you all. We change and design our website, www.eduigp.com. On this website, we have surprise for everyone. Hope you will be benefited. We already launched our website and all our previous activities together with lots of new features. But one of the is that without an account logged in, you cannot enjoy yourself. So create your account from us with profile information. Note that with profile information, you'll enjoy all feature. With mismatched data, you cannot do anything here. From now, you have to participate in live quiz competition on our website. We replace slide. You have to website. Now you check all of our previous webinars with verified e-certificate. Now, here and time only. Because after the session, we will not provide you a record for certification. You have to take part in one exam. After the if you pass, you will receive your certificate, otherwise not. But you can take part in an exam unlimited till you pass. If you are an IGP, download all your previous certificate, speakership certificate. If you are a host of IGP, you can download a certificate of gratitude. Participation. If you are selected for a lifetime membership, then you can download a certificate of lifetime membership easily. Besides this, we participate in an award function which organizes common support with IGP. You can download that also. You can receive PPI and download 18 times visa certificate from our website within a minute. Certificate of Global Professional Membership, Certificate of Global Influence in the Pandemic, Certificate of Active Knowledge Seeker, Certificate of Social Activities in the Pandemic, Certificate of Achievement IGP Knowledge Seeking in 2020, 2021, and 2022. Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 1, Authentic Assessment in Teaching and Learning, Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 2, Teaching English, Foreign Language and Assessment. Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 3, Digital Classroom Engagement, Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 4, New Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 5, Upskill Our Leadership and Managerial Skills, Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 6, Trend and Innovation in Mathematics Education, Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 7, Research Approach, Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 8, Art Teaching a Special Program in the Arts, Certificate of Participation Webinar Series 9, 21st Century to Certificate of IGP Campus Semester, which you can prepare and download within a minute. From now on, you can participate in 1,000 plus international level quiz with verified certificate. Teaching tips for teacher, help tips for parents, help tips for teachification tools for teacher. You can join IGP alumni. You can check out our 50 student services website for free and many more. Dear IGP well wisher, we promised previously, but lack of technical problem, we are late sending you on time. This is a great opportunity to collect your previous condition. We solved all issue from our website. Now you can enroll, reset password, everything. You can check your group for all written details. It's a cordial request to check all button and pages on our website. Should like and still be benefited. Thank you, but note that without an account or login, you cannot enjoy our services. At present, we are going to start 2059 webinar, which name is Gender Fair Language in Content Creation. And today our speaker ma'am name is Griza Sivali. She is from Philippines. Before I hand over the stage to our speaker, we will share very little bit about her. Teacher 2 at Francisco Vanitas Memorial School, District ICT Coordinator and School Infrastructure Quality Assurance, Technical Assistance, Monitoring and Evaluation Associate, Quad E, Philippines. Now, very important moment for me to invite our speaker to IGP with her presentation. Now, very important moment for me to invite our speaker to presentation.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening. It's a pleasant day to everyone. Can I begin now?
Ma'am, the stage
Um,
is
can,
you can.
I can start now. Can you hear the audio?
Ma'am,
Is it clear?
there is yes, ma'am. The presentation is clear.
Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Hannah Carissa Sivalia from the Philippines. A teacher at Francisco Benitez Memorial School from Laguna. My topic for tonight is gender fair language in content creation. So, the main objectives for this lecture is first, to define what is sexism in language, to review the different gender equality contexts, and to discuss the different guidelines in writing gender fair language in our content creation. First, let us identify what can be a content. So, a content can be a subject or ideas contained in something. It can be written, it can be said, and then it can also be created or represented. It is a material dealt with a speech, literary work, or anything. So, for example, it can be an audio or a video. It is information made available, whether it is on paper, it can be recorded, or even in our internet or online. And language plays a central role in our human cognition and behavior. The most common mechanism by which gender is constructed is through language. And what is sexism in language? This is one of the most common problems that we have in terms of our language. Sexism in language is the use of language which devalues the members of one sex. Almost invariably, it is the women who suffers this devaluation of our gender, and thus this fosters what we call as the gender inequality. In gender inequality, there will be discrimination against women, mostly for the women, and most common one that is happening around the world is for discrimination against women by rendering them invisible or trivializing them at the same time that it perpetuates notions of male supremacy. And that would be irregardless of the um, origin or the country of your originating. Gender fair language, this is a part of our title. This aims to reduce our gender stereotyping and discrimination. So we have sexism in language, and because of the gender fair in language, this would reduce. They were trying to um, remove it completely, but of course, it will be gradually. So we'll start with reducing the stereotyping and discrimination, and this is through the use of linguistic forms. So we can reduce and promote reduce gender biases and promote gender equality. With gender fair language, this is the language that avoids biases towards a particular sex or gender, whether it is for male or the female. And this is less likely to convey stereotyping. So we have to recap some thoughts and ideas about gender equality. Now, gender equality, this is the tendency results in unequal relations between women and men, with men being considered as the superior sex mainly because of their stronger physical characteristics and attributes. Gender roles are the products of the society's culture, beliefs, and values. So, wherever you were born, your location, they can have gender biases, and this is showing based on the gender roles that we have, whether we are male or female. They are taught and reinforced by the society's structures and institutions. So for example, the workforce should be the male, and the that should be left at home would be the female. So they are the housewives. Now, gender stereotyping and subordinate status. So, I'm going to put here as an example for Filipino because I am from the Philippines. Now, most of the gender stereotyping for the Filipino women, we have the historical roots. When we say historical roots, because for more than 100 years, so for centuries, Philippines was colonized, and the gender stereotyping was a remnant of our feudal view for the women. So, Philippines was colonized by the Spaniards, and then the Americans, and then the Japanese. So, with those colonization period and the history of the country, patriarchy is also a legacy of the colonization. The colonial thinking was that the men were superior above and beyond women, and therefore men should dominate and exercise of political and economic power in the society's institution. In other countries, if they had been colonized or they had been in partner with other countries, there would be a tendency that they would also get what is the practice in the society of those countries that they are in relation with. Gender roles begins at home, and at home, girls are usually taught to be feminine, while boys are taught to be masculine, and so is the roles that they partake in for the household chores. For example, the ones that are being taught and expected to do the gardening and the construction would be the boys and the men, while cooking and then other feminine household chores like doing the laundry would be given to the girls or our female counterparts of the males. The feminine traits also include being modest, submissive, and nurturing, whereas for masculine traits, this include being domineering and aggressive. Now, women are also expected to be homemakers and nurturer. So, what I'm talking here is that these are the gender biases and stereotyping of our gender roles. So, if you're a female, you are expected to be a homemaker and nurturer. There was a time in an era in the period in the world wherein women are not allowed to have jobs. And there were also a country wherein women are not allowed to vote. It would be for the role and the role of the men. So those are example of gender inequalities. And men are expected to be family providers. That's why, like I said earlier, they are the ones who are allowed to work, and the female should only be homemakers. Well, of course, during these days, it's not on that practice anymore. Now, after several years, there had been a lot of changes in terms of the gender roles, the stereotypes, and now we have the gender equality. Now, before this gender equality, there had been some contexts wherein this had been gathered, analyzed, studied, and then there had been researches about it. So here, I'm going to discuss about the different contexts wherein we got the gender equality. Hence, we're going to use it in creating content. So whether that would be in written, audio, or video, or what we post online. So first, this would be for the international one. Gender equality is a global priority. Of course, it is a global priority. So first would be from the UN. In 1979, the UN CEDAW, this is United Nations Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. From the name itself of the organization, this is under UN and it pertains to um, eliminating all forms of discrimination against the women. With this law, with this context, this would promote equality in all fields, whether that would be whatever specific type of jobs, and this will affirm action for women. They were able to join organizations and institutions, and they were able to perform tasks and job that is not given to them before. And this will also give protection for women against violence. So, if I'm not mistaken, each and every country will have a sub laws about this. Like, for example, for the Philippines, we have our protection against violence and crimes for on women. Now, aside from the UN, there would be the Beijing Platform for Action 1995 or BPFA. This called for actions on 12 areas of concern affecting women and girl or children for the advancements of women's rights and gender equality worldwide. So, most of the bylaws that are being created by the lawmakers in each country, they would base it from the international laws, and this is one of them with regards to gender equality, specifically for women and girls, and protecting our children as well. Another one is what we call as um, the MDGs. So earlier the years in the millennium, in 2000s, so we have the Millennium Development Goals or the MDGs. One of the specific part of it, in number three, promote gender equality and empower women. This aim to promote gender equality and empower women underscore gender issues as a global priority. So we have to promote gender equality and give empowerment to women. After MDGs in 2015, here comes what we call as your Sustainable Development Goals or the SDGs. So there are several numbers of the SDGs, and one of the specific ones would be number 5. This is to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. And one of the target number 9. So we have 17 sustainable development goals. So first is poverty, zero hunger, no to poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Now, among all of these 17 sustainable goals, and this is an international goal from the UN as well, gender equality, number 5, pertains to um, making sure that all forms of discrimination against all women and girls are being eliminated and ended. This would achieve empowerment for all women and girls. So this is one of the target. Another one is to eliminate all forms of violence against all women and girls in the public and private spheres. So it's not just only because you saw it on the street or public places, but also even at home or in private places, including trafficking and sexual and other types of exploitations. So whether that would be for young girls or even to adult women. Another part and target of SDG number 5 for gender equality is to eliminate all harmful practices such as child, early and forced marriages, and female genital mutilations. Because there has been countries that have early marriages even for children below 15. So there had been some reports of marriages with girls that was even 11 or 12 years old. So with SDG 5, they are trying to eliminate these kinds of practices because this is harmful for the welfare, not only physical, but also mentally and psychologically for the children. And also forced marriages. Um, it is common that we marry people because we love them. There are countries that practice arranged marriages. However, there are still some cases that there are forced marriages. And SDG 5 targets this to end and eliminate forced marriages. And of course, the female genital mutilation. There is what we call the circumcision in girls in other countries. And with SDG 5, this target eliminates the practice of female genital mutilation. Another target of SDG 5 is to recognize and value unpaid care and domestic work through the provision of public services, infrastructure, and social protection policies, and the promotion of shared responsibility within the household and the family as nationally appropriate. So it is not um, valid that we have unpaid care and domestic work. When women or girls work, well, actually, for young girls, they shouldn't be allowed to work because that would be child labor. But for women, if women were given tasks, that is because they were employed for it, and they should be paid for the number of hours or for the work that they have done, whether this is international or local. And all kinds of services should be paid, and women should be protected with regards to this practice of having less payment or bias towards the chores or the responsibility. Another target of SDG 5 is to ensure women's full and effective participation and equal opportunities for leadership at all levels of decision making in political, economic, and public life. Long ago, years and decades ago, and even millennium ago, women are not allowed to go out of the house. There are cases that women also are not allowed to work, and women are not allowed to vote. With SDG 5, they were ensuring that every woman, if you're on the legal age of voting, you will be allowed to vote. And you will also be allowed to run for a position. That's why we have a female president, a female vice president, or a prime minister. And we also have lawmakers who are women. So it's not only for a man's job to become a cop or a police officer or a soldier. Now there are women who are also onto those fields of job and even decision levels. Um, Before, the ones who will be on the CEO levels would be the male or the men, but for now, because of our empowerment of women and gender equality, even women can become CEOs and owners of companies and other tasks of higher position. Another target for SDG 5 is to ensure universal access to sexual and reproductive health and reproductive rights as agreed in accordance with the Program of Action of the International Conference on Population and Development and the Beijing Platform for Action and the outcome documents of the review conference. There has been a practice before that if the child would be a female, it will be killed or aborted because their goal and their target is to have male heirs and successors. So with SDG 5, this enrich and strengthens to ensure that every person, whether male or female, has given birth, they will have the right for their life, and also there will be a protection for the universal health and reproductive and sexual and health and reproductive rights. Another target is to undertake reforms to give women equal rights to economic resources as well as access to ownership and control over land and other forms of property, financial services, inheritance, and natural resources in accordance with national laws. So, these international laws would be a basis for creating local and national laws and even a more sub-local and sub phrases of the laws. There were times and there were countries wherein females are not allowed to own lands and other properties. So if they have siblings who are male, The properties and the ownership will be given to the male, especially if they and mostly if those are also firstborn. There are cases wherein the firstborn are female or women, they are not allowed to have the property and the right for it and to own it. That's why with SDG 5, this would strengthen the reform that women will be given equal rights for economic resources and ownership. Then we have another target. Target number 8 is to enhance the use of enabling technology, in particular information and communications technology, to promote the empowerment of women. So we are now in the modern day era, and everyone is allowed to use technology in enabling and empowering women. Not that they have to be overpowered the men. It's not because we wanted them to overpower the men, but because we wanted to give them equal opportunities, whether online or offline. Um, and we can give them the same platform that everyone can use equally. And of course, it should be um, respectfully and following the laws. Another target of SDG 5 is to adopt and strengthen sound policies and enforceable legislation for the promotion of gender equality and the empowerment of all women. So, with SDG 5, this would help strengthen the policies that we have in our countries. And if we put it in a more localized way, we can create policies in the education, in political field, or in even on private companies. They can create their own policies, and with the use of gender equality, this would reinforce, strengthen the legislation, the management of our country, of the school, of other public offices, and even private companies. Now, all of these can be used as basis in the development of context for it to become more gender sensitive, gender fair, and avoid gender biases and sexism in language. Also, with all of those contexts and basis, we can create a more gender fair, gender sensitive, gender bias, and no more sexism in language in our content. So, again, our content can be written, can be audio, and can be through a form also of a video. So it can be in education, it can be a memorandum or a memoranda, it can be used in the company, it can be used in the media, in newspaper, and even on shows and movies. Now, next that I will be discussing is um, we have certain guidelines to promote gender fair in language in our content creation. So, as I said, for content can be written, and if it's in audio, of course, you have a script, so you would write it again. And if it's on video, there would be scripting also, and you have to read it. So, we can use these guidelines so we can better promote gender fair, and we can be more gender neutral and not biased. So, first, we use the plural nouns and our articles. So, using plural nouns and antecedent, so we should avoid using his or her. So, for example, an employee must present his ID when entering a building. Instead of using the statement, we can use or say employees must present their ID. So we are being gender neutral instead of saying his and her, because that would be masculine and feminine. With their, the plural one, this would be gender fair and gender neutral. There would be no gender for our plural pronoun there. Another is to use relative pronouns who instead of he. So, for example, if a complainant is not satisfied with the board's decision, he can ask for a rehearing. Aside from he, they may also use she in the example, but those two should be avoided. So instead of that, we can rephrase it. and reform the sentence into a complainant who is not satisfied with the board's decision can ask for a rehearing. We are not saying that only the male is always asking for a rehearing because we mentioned he can ask, because we were assuming that always the male would be asking for a rehearing. Here, whether it's a male or a female member or office worker, we can be gender neutral by using who instead of he or she. Another way to be gender fair is using one, we, and you instead of he or she. As one grows older, he becomes more wiser. To make this one a more appropriate term, a more appropriate sentence for it to be gender fair, we can make it into as one grows older, one becomes wiser. So it's not just he, a male perspective that he is the one that grows wiser, but rather we use one. So each and every one, whether that is male or female, one grows wiser. There would be biases. So again, I would like to repeat and reiterate that we're using these kinds of guidelines so we can remove and lessen biases in our sentences, in our statement, in whatever consent that we make. So another one is to substitute articles a, and the for his and her. So avoid saying that when the team leader submits his report, we can say that the team leader submits the report. It's not just him or her, but the report is being submitted. We've changed the focus. Then another way is to delete he, him, his altogether. So we remove them all. And the sentence may be recast in the form of an impersonal or passive construction. So the example to avoid is he must acknowledge all his sources. To make this one a more gender neutral one and not gender biased, we can change it and reform it in all sources must be acknowledged. We remove completely he, him, and his altogether and rephrase our sentence to make it gender free. Use specific nouns, verbs, or other words instead of the generic use of man. So, most of our words we use man to say the type of work. For example, we have manpower. Instead of saying manpower, we can say human resources because females are all human, just like men. So instead of man, just say human resources, or it can be workforce. Instead of chairman, we can use chairperson. So we do not need to say chairman for men and chairwomen for women. So we can just say chairperson. So that would be together already. Whether that's a man or a woman, it will be a chairperson. And then instead of businessmen, we can say business people. Instead of layman or common man, we can say a layperson or an average person. Now we can use the nouns that encompass both men and women as well. So mankind, humankind or humanity or human race. Instead of average working man, we can say an average wage earner. Then we can add women in making general statements. For example, we should avoid man is a rational being. Instead of that, to make it more gender, not gender bias, but more gender fair, we can say women and men, or you can say men and women are rational beings. For as long as we have them both in there, it would be gender fair. Another way is to take the context of the word, analyze its meaning, and eliminate sexism in the context. I'm sorry, in the concept. Because there are statements or sentences and texts that we make that we put sexism in its concept itself. Whether we do it intentionally or unintentionally, there would be that time that there would be some cases that we put sexism in the concept. So, for example, we have brotherhood of man. So when it's a man, of course, it's the male. And when you say brother, that would be the male as well. So there would be sexism in the concept of brotherhood of man because all of those pertains to the male. We can change that with the same idea, but this time it would be gender fair. This would, with this recommended part, human solidarity, we can include also women in that concept. Another concept that has sexism in it is the founding fathers. So there's nothing wrong to say that these are the people who founded it. For example, an organization, a club, a building, an organization, they founded it, or a school. However, it says founding fathers, which means the people who founded it are definitely male. So there is already sexism in the concept. What if there are founders who are female as well? To make it safer and more gender fair and not biased, we can say the founders or the founding leaders. To eliminate sexism in symbolic representation in gender in words and sentences and context and text, we can take the context of the word, analyze its meaning, and eliminating sexism in the concept. I'm sorry, it repeated. Um, we can find the precise words to delineate the thing itself from supposedly sex linked characteristics. So this means that there are characteristics of female in the word. So for example, we have motherland. So when you say motherland, because it's nurturing, a female's characteristic is nurturing. Does that mean that males cannot nurture and they are not nurturing as well? They don't have the characteristic of nurturing. So, as recommended, it is more appropriate to use native land. And instead of motherland or fatherland, we can also use land of one's birth, where one is being born first. Okay. The use of inclusive job titles and or specific nouns when they are addressing persons formally. So of course, when we call people, we can address them by their jobs. And when we write letters or when we request, we use the job titles. So use Miss instead of Mrs. President is given to Miss instead of Mrs. when it is unknown. So, for example, you're hosting an event and you're going to call someone who is a guest or a speaker, or there is a guest who arrived that was not part of your list to give a message, or it will be an impromptu. So you're not sure if that person is married or not. So you use Miss instead of Mrs. And also, when presenting people or writing to them, it the most appropriate one and gender fair term to use is Miss instead of Mrs., whether they are married or not. Okay, next. Use of inclusive job titles. Use a married woman's first name instead of her husband's. So, what are those cases? There are people who use Mrs. Juan de la Cruz because this woman is married to Mr. Juan de la Cruz. Instead of doing that, saying that this man is her husband or she is the wife of this man, you better say the first name of the woman, Mrs. Maria Santos de la Cruz, because her middle name is Santos, and because her husband's last name is de la Cruz, so she is now Mrs. Maria de los Santos. Use the corresponding titles for females. So, for example, we have Dr. Concepcion. We should use Dr. Concepcion Reyes. Doctor, if I'm not mistaken, is a local term for Filipino, and we are sharing commonalities for several words and terms with Spanish. So there are countries who have their own local terms for the different job titles. So it would follow the same pattern. So instead of those male and female titles for the job, we should use the general term for the job. Use the title of the job or group in letters to unknown person. So in writing letters, whether they are known or unknown people, instead of using Dear Sir, we use their title. If they are the credit manager, we say Dear Credit Manager. If they are the editor in chief, we say Dear Editor in Chief. If that person is the principal, you should write Dear Principal. Or if it's someone who has a title in the political society, we can say Honorable Counselor, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Judge, or Honorable um, Lawmaker. We can use the same term for both genders when it comes to profession or employment. So instead of chairman, that is a job or a title of the profession, it should be called as chairperson. Instead of saying this person is a businessman, for example, I'm a businessman, but I am a woman. So instead of that, we can say the business executive or executives. Then we should use gender fair terms in lexical terms. So instead of statementship, again, there would be the word man, just like my example earlier. We should use diplomacy. Diplomacy. And mastering a skill, we should be saying being competent in a skill. Investing in women, it should be investing in women's potential. There would be a different meaning at some point if we should say investing in women or investing to a woman. Then we can treat men and women in a parallel manner. So, how are we going to do it? Instead of saying man and wife, we should say husband and wife. If you wanted to use men, the partner should be man and women. Um, we wanted to say wife, so the partner should be husband and wife. That would be what we call as your parallelism. So this is the parallel manner. Then we should avoid language that reinforces stereotyping images. So, for example, a man's job, meaning this is only a job for the men. Women are not allowed to do this job. It would give that implication. So, there would be a stereotyping for the image with regards to the job. Instead of saying a man's job, we can say this is a huge or a big job. Instead of saying a man sized job, it can be said or stated as a demanding job because there would be a lot of effort and strength that should be used in doing this kind of job. And instead of saying a pushy woman, because it would mean it may sound that every woman would be always pushy, we can say and state a forceful woman. And instead of an aggressive woman, we can say assertive woman. There would be a negative notion when you say an aggressive woman. It may seem and portray that women are always aggressive when we can say it in a more positive way and gender fair that a woman is assertive. Next, we can avoid language that catches attention to the sex roles or men and women. So, avoid saying working mothers, and instead we can write or create in our content wage earning mothers. Then we should avoid unnecessary gender linked prefixes or suffixes. So instead of saying lady doctor, we should only say doctor. Are we going to say the male doctor? We can just say that these are the doctors, male or female. And instead of saying female lawyer, we can say lawyer. Instead of saying male secretary, we just say and note it as the secretary. Proprietress, this is in particular for female. We can just say that they are proprietor. And instead of usherette, we can just say usher. Whether these are male or female, we just have to incorporate the job title of the person. Then we should make gender visible when it is relevant for communication. So earlier I said that we should avoid showing the gender, but when it is relevant and needed for our content or communication, we should make gender visible. So use feminine and masculine pronouns. When a staff member accepts an offer of employment, he or she must be able to assume that the offer is duly authorized. Now, in this case, earlier we said to remove them. On this case, we are trying to tell, for example, this is a bylaw in a company. We are trying to say here that whether the member or the staff is a male or a female, they should be able to assume the offer is duly authorized already. That's why we're going to use he or she in the statement instead of saying their, the plural pronouns. Now we should use two different words. All of the soldiers, both men and women, responded negatively to question number three in the surveys. So, in this statement, they were just trying to say that whether the soldier is a male or female, they both gave the same response to the question of the survey, which is question number three. Because if we're just going to say just the men, so there can be a notion that only the women has a negative response to question number three, or only the men. But in this case, both of them. So you were trying to highlight that both of the gender are having negative response to them. Okay, next, just for a closure of our lecture for today, language shapes the way we think and determines what we can think about. And this is as stated by Benjamin Lee Worth. So, what we say, how we say it, whether it is in written, spoken, um, through communication, and through other forms of media, those are content and they are languages that we have, whether that is our mother tongue, our local language, or the internationally language that we use, which is English. All of this would shape the way that we think. It would determine also what we can think about and what we can plan for the future and use it. So if this is how you write it, and if this is how you speak things to people and about everything else, it would determine how you behave, how you think about other people, other places, and other things, and that would determine you as a person. Now, that would be all for today. If you have any other questions or more questions, feel free to ask. By the way, these are my resources for the lecture for today: Gender Fair Media and Gender Fair Language and Images, an online training workshop for content creators, and Gender Fair Language, a primer by Telma B. Quintanar from UP Diliman of the Philippines. So that would be all. Thank you very much, and feel free to give your questions.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for a rich content presentation which can impact our knowledge seeker surely. After your presentation, I hope our knowledge seeker can learn something new, which was our only intention. Learn and go together, IGP knowledge seeker. Once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for your presentation. Now, ma'am, it's time for which is the Honorable ma'am, please stay with us. After a short video, we will back in our session part 2, which Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as we want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a webinar certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a webinar certification and online quiz competition. ma'am. Welcome back to our participant. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a webinar certification and online quiz competition. Dear IGP knowledge seeker, please ask your question in the comment box as much as you want to know from our speaker. Thank you. After question answer, we have a webinar certification and online quiz competition.
I think we have a question from Isaiah.
Our first question is from Kingway. Ma'am, if in real sense the lady is aggressive, how do we say he's assertive?
Okay. Yes. If it's in the real sense, like this is the very honest opinion and being very honest that the woman is really aggressive, then you can say that the woman is aggressive. However, in writing a content, if it's just basic writing, that's why I said in content creation, just basic writing, basic contents that we create. Instead of always saying that the woman is aggressive, we can use the word she is being assertive. However, if it's, for example, we are talking and someone was asking you to describe her and she is really an aggressive person, she was hurting someone else, that's her characteristic, then you can say that she's aggressive. And I hope I was able to answer Isaiah's question.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your answer, ma'am. There is no more question from our participants. So once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for your time in IGP. We have learned a lot from you with new topic. It will add some value to our day-to-day activity with our academic and professional growth. Honorable ma'am, hope to see you again with a new topic and a new date. Thank you, ma'am. Take care.
Thank you and have a great day and happy Valentine's Day to everyone, especially to you.
Thank
Bye
you
bye.
so much, ma'am. Honorable ma'am, before we move to the next, if you want to leave this studio, you can. The IGP knowledge case stand for the certification process, the most attractive and powerful part of our regular webinar. After a short video, we will start our webinar certification. After webinar certification, we have an online quiz competition and quiz certification. The IGP knowledge case stand for the webinar certification process, the most attractive and powerful part of our regular webinar. After a short video, we will start our webinar certification. After webinar certification, we have an online quiz competition and quiz certification. Certification process. Visit www.edurgp.com. Please sign up or sign in. Without this, you cannot join. Dear IGP knowledge certification process. Visit www.edurgp.com. Visit www.edurgp.com. Visit www.edurgp.com. Please make sure your presence on our website. Find a learning session and get enrolled. After watching completing part 1, move to the next learning test, passing mark 80%. If passed, Back to the course again. To download the certificate, if feel free to take the course. Download the certificate in PDF or JPG. For your attention, I am going to share the procedure again. Visit www.radioigp.com. Please make sure your presence on our website. Find an learning session and get enrolled. After watching completing part 1, move to the next learning test, passing mark 80%. If pass, back to the course again to download the certificate. If feel free to take the course, download the certificate in PDF or JPG. Dear IGP Knowledge, start from the most engaging part of this webinar, which is an online quiz competition, which is our regular webinar activity. We change a few process for online quiz competition. Note that offer like no one can participate. Now, time for the online quiz competition. To join the online quiz competition properly, please follow my instruction carefully. Now, time for the online quiz competition. To join the online quiz competition properly, please follow my instruction carefully. Visit www.radioigp.com and sign up or sign in. Without this, you cannot join live quiz competition anymore. Browse the live quiz button or give a link by the session name and join with your logged website or user account. Click join and wait for a few minutes for others to join. Enjoy an online live quiz competition. After the quiz, we will issue certificate for top 10 as previously, which you can find on official Facebook page and group Institute of Global Professionals. After a short video, we will start our quiz session. With 22 people, we are going to start our quiz session right now. Our first question is, what are the proofs of using a gender fair and inclusive language? Is it option 1 or option 2? Option 2 is the right answer. 100% people are right here. Our next question is, in gender fair language, what do you think to replace the word chairman, chairwoman? Is it option 1 or option 2? Option 1 is the right answer. 100% people are right here. Our next question is, what does gender fair language promote? Is it option 1 or option 2? Option 2 is the right answer. 100% people are right here. Our next question is, the following are gender fair language except, is it option 1 or option 2? Option 1 is the right answer. 81% people are right here. Our next question is, what is an example of gender fair language? Is it option 1 or option 2? Option 1 is the right answer. 90% people are right here. Our next question is, in the French language, the nationalities will change following the gender. Is it true or false? Option 1 is the right answer. 83% people are right here. Next question is, why the interviewer influenced the answer that the respondent gives? Option 1, validity. Option 2, interview basis. Option 2 is the right answer. 68% people are right here. Our eighth question is, what is the aim of gender fair language? Is it option 1 or option 2? Option 2 is the right answer. 95% people are right here. Our second last question of the session is, what is the gender fair language for fishermen? Option 1 or option 2? Option 2 is the right answer. 90% people are right here. Last and final question of the session is, in the France language is divided according to the gender, masculine or feminine. Is it true or false? Option 1 is the right answer. 55% people are right here. Congratulations to our online quiz competition in our top 10. Congratulations again. We will take a few minutes for finalizing the result. After that, we will issue our online quiz competence certificate on official Facebook page and group Institute of Global Professional. Congratulations to our online quiz competition in our top 10. Congratulations again. We will take a few minutes for finalizing the result. After that, we will issue our online quiz competence certificate on official Facebook page and group Institute of Global Professional. Congratulations to our online quiz competition in our top 10. Congratulations again. We will take a few minutes for finalizing the result. After that, we will issue our online quiz competence certificate on official Facebook page and group Institute of Global Professional. At the end of our session, we can say properly feed your skill. Never stop learning, cause life never stop teaching us. Be happy as to safe. See you again and again. We want your participation in every program. If you want to live a happy life, try to a goal, not a people or things. Albert Einstein. Before I start, hit the unlike button. Again, wants to thank all IGP knowledge seekers for your active participation as always. See you again in the next session. Thank you.